Good morning. Welcome to Investigator News, and this is the weather update. And boy, we got storms that are going. They went past us yesterday and dropped a lot of rain. And I was surprised to see that the river was up when we went into Little Rock yesterday. And it's a good sign. We've had a drought here in Arkansas for quite a long time. So seeing that the river was up, that's promising. Um, and we Oh, Mary's in here. Mary, guess what? Well, I might as well tell you guys here. Um, I'm still having issues with YouTube. Some reason they blocked you guys on the old account, and they won't let me put you on the new account. So I'm waiting to hear what they're going to do with us. So they might block all of us for there's a new way I'm connecting us to YouTube to keep us live, and it might lift once they give us the old channel back. So, yeah. So I'm gonna try it again. They said try having you guys send me new links. Anyway, I'm gonna get on with the weather. Um, so we have dry. We have a big patch of dry. Let me throw this up there for you guys. Um, it's all dry behind these storms, which is good. Everybody's ready to dry out, but it's going to bring in the heat. Um, and I hope everybody's ready for instant summer because it sounds like the heat's going to be intense this summer. All right, so I'm going to let you guys hear the weather report, and we'll move on because they came out with the first. Um, no, um, I'll give you the first um, hurricane report that came out this morning. We're only days away from a hurricane season. So, and Arkansas runs, or the South runs pretty much with it with their tornadoes. So, if you're thinking the tornadoes will be done, we still got months, a few months to go. And then it picks back up at the end of September when we get a cooling. So, good morning to William. William, you made it in. So, hopefully, this all goes really well today when we go to um, do the regular news show because I got a lot. Um, and prayers to the family of the shooting victims. Oh, my goodness. And I got a lot to say on that because I've been fighting these school shootings since, oh, my goodness. Well, I'll tell you about it later. Anyway, let's get off with the weather.
Here's a look at the national forecast, and the slow moving system will continue to bring heavy downpours to the middle part of the country, really from the Gulf all the way up to the Midwest. That's where we'll see heavy rain along with possibility of severe. By Thursday, that slowly crawls off to the east and eventually will move to the eastern seaboard as we end the work week and begin the holiday weekend. Now, out to the west, it stays dry and hot. The south is going to see dry and hot conditions as well as we go into the weekend. Friday, Dallas, you're sitting at 92 degrees for your high. And parts of New Mexico, Southwest, you're going to be seeing temperatures over the century mark.
Ha. Yep, we're going to move into the hundreds. Um, all right, here we go. So, this is the 22 hurricane season forecast. And I know they're lining up, and I don't think they're going to name one after me this year, William. I've been hoping because I just want to create havoc on DC. I'm going to steer it right towards DC. If I have a hurricane named after me, that's what I'm going to do. All right, here we go.
Service has now come out with their official hurricane forecast for the Atlantic Basin 2022. Remember, the hurricane season officially starts on June 1st, and they're forecasting 14 to 21 total named storms, 6 to 10 of those being hurricanes, and then 3 to 6 of those being major hurricanes, meaning category 3 or higher. As is usually the case, this forecast kind of falls in line with the CSU forecast, which is the first one to come out, and then, of course, the Weather Company forecast, which is a couple weeks after that. Important to keep in mind when the peak of hurricane season is, it's between August and October. Of course, you can get a lot of activity before and after that. Here's a quick look at the names. And by the way, keep in mind with this forecast, it really doesn't matter all that much because it only takes one. You can have a year where you only have one hurricane that forms, out in the ocean, and then it happens to hit the United States. Or you can have a year where you've got 20 hurricanes that form and none of them come close to the coast. So it only takes one. Just remember that.
Are you seeing that? They didn't. It's Earl. Didn't we already have an Earl? I'm disheartened. I really did want a hurricane named after me. All right. The latest earthquakes. Oh boy, look at this stuff here. Um, there's only 27 of them. And I was surprised how low the count was. But they're all equally spread out. And that's what really gets me, except for over by Puerto Rico, where we have them all on top of each other. And then we have one lone one over here in Greece, in Lipinu, Greece. And it was only a 4.7. So everything that was 5.0s, except for over here, and Tonga with a 5.3. Everything else is pretty small. We got one here on the Pacific Rise at 4.6. And William, I think we got some. No, this is lower. William, you had one there yesterday. Did you know that? Over in Washington, which is odd. And they usually don't have them in Washington. So maybe that's why you felt not so good, because I know earthquakes make me feel weird. All right, so we had one in Molalla, Oregon, which I've never heard of one being there. But Oregon doesn't always report their earthquakes to us. So um, then we had one in Sutcliffe, Nevada, which is another one I've never heard of, and that's a 2.6. And Smiths Ferry, Idaho, 2.7. And then we have one down in the White City, New Mexico. So we get those quite often. So really a very light day of earthquakes, and I expecting, with everything being so wet all the way across the states, maybe we'll see a little bit more by tomorrow. Am I predicting? No, I don't predict earthquakes. I guess and hope for the best, or I make bets with Karen. So, um, uh, William, was the dog acting weird yesterday by chance? Because it was a good one. It was a good strong one. I think it was up in the northern part. I'll have to go back and look because it's not on my list. So that's it for the earthquakes. It might be a quick show. We have allergies. With me, with my allergies, a lot of people say, Ellie, you cough all the time. And it's my allergies. And unfortunately, I was like looking forward to seeing that we were on the top 10, but I think it's just me. But the most challenging places to live with seasonal allergies, and this is seasonal, is Pennsylvania, Kansas, Texas, Virginia, Oklahoma, Connecticut, Buffalo, New York, Connecticut, and New York, Albany, New York. So I'm not on there. And they're saying that it's extremely bad this year. And they said it's due to a lot of the weather that's happening. Everything bloomed really quick, then it rains and it blooms some more. Now, I know we had that green dust all over the place, and we had yellow. I think it's because we have so many flowers here. Now, this story really concerns me. Boy, we're going to get done early today. It is a 8-year study that they've been doing, and I heard about this when I went and talked to the Eagle Reserve we have here on how healthy the eagles are here, and what they were. Well, I'm going to pull it out. And they were saying, no, actually, these eagles aren't. And they're having to nurse a lot of them back to health. And what's wrong with them? They're having extreme levels of lead. And it's not just Arkansas, it's all over the United States, they said. So they had to do an 8-year study to find out. So 8 years ago, about 2010, the eagles were subjected to high doses of lead all over the country. And, I went back to see what had happened. And I couldn't really see anything. And so I called the guy back up and I said, was there anything that happened you guys can find out from the study that affected these eagles? And he said, no, that's what they're trying to find out. So they're all testing eagles all over this country to find out where the highest levels are. And they assume that's where they're being exposed. Yeah, you're very quiet. What, you and your dog, or no? I'm back over talking with Chad. They're interesting today. Um, I think the dog is the culprit here. I think the dog hasn't been fed yet, and so it's got Mary and William's tongue. So anyway, I know you guys want to hear about this. So they show lethal effects on these birds, and they're seeing a lot of them are starting to die off. And I said this is why there is the fall um, of the amount of eagles across our country. And not only that, but they said even the offsprings are tinier or getting smaller. And they said it's the level consequences from the poisoning of these majestic species is such a wide scale that these findings uh, took a look at the golden eagle populations across North America using samples of over 1,200 eagles in 38 states, including Alaska. And yeah, it's even up there in Alaska. And when we asked Canada if they were having the same issue with the eagles, and they said yes. So it's even went up into Canada. And they're finding more eagles up in Alaska and Canada, more than usual. And they're thinking there's something in the United States that's causing the lead poisoning. And these eagles are pretty smart. So they're having an abundance in Alaska and Canada. And they had to look at a wide scale on this. And the findings basically said it's causing the population growth rates to slow by almost 5%. And so the first study of lead poisoning of the wildlife was back in 2008. And it was because they found quite a few sick birds and they could not find out what was wrong with these eagles. And this was up around the Alaska observatories. And so they notified a lot of them here, and also notified Arkansas, where they have a large um, um, we bring the birds in, we take care of them, and sometimes we look at the illnesses and sicknesses to put their health back. And then we release them back up. And in January is the releasing of the eagles here, in case you want to know and interested to come down and take a look at it. So they said that the 50% of the birds that were sampled showed evidence of repeated exposure. So this means what this means is they're getting re-exposed. So, and it's getting more and more intense because lead just don't dissipate in the body. It hangs in there. So these birds are getting sicker and sicker. So of course they put tracers on their little feet. Well, I guess they have big feet, but they put tracers on their little feet and found out where they were flying, the ones that were sick, because most of the time they fly into the same areas. And so what they found out is they started getting a lot of dead eagles, and even the ones with the trackers on them, and because of the buildup. And they said a lot of these species are scavengers. So that's the next thing they looked into was, are they eating something? Is it breathing, eating, or what's going on? And what they found out was the baby chicks that were born weren't born with lead poisoning or lead, which they were thinking, okay, then the birds must have went out and they caught the lead and they're coming back. Now, when they checked the chicks within weeks, they started seeing it. So it was something that either it was the mother was feeding it, or the mothers had had such a high concentrate on them that it was going off onto the birds. So uh, they had quite a few that had died, and they did the autopsy on these little guys, and they found out that it was food fed. So the mothers were getting into um, an area that was contaminated. And lo and behold, at the end of all this, they still don't know what's causing this. And they're not sure if it's lead in the water, if it's what they're feeding on, if it's the air. But they did say that now, since they're getting the eagles to try to return to um, um, the bird refuges, um, that they're finding out there's less and less. And it's not that they don't want to let the birds go. Um, it's the fact that with them coming back, they're finding out they're avoiding now a certain area. So, like I said, these birds are smart. So, of course, they sent tracers back in there again on their little feet and seeing if there was an area compared to the other studies of areas they weren't going into. And a lot of it, they said, is um, cities that have high um, pollution, like LA, or even, oh, I don't even think New York is that bad. It's mainly California. Now, there is a bird refuge right around Oroville, and they did some studies on it, and they have a higher concentrate on their eagles than we would here in Arkansas. And it was odd that I live here in Arkansas and we're doing studies here, and I'm from California, and they're doing the same study there. So it looks like this is what they're leaning towards, is the birds are now getting into pollution. Well, I was like, oh, great. Now this is really going to give Biden a good reason to do away with the gas um, due to pollution that's killing eagles. And I asked the lady that, and she said, no, she doesn't really think that's the case. She just thinks that um, it depends on what state. And so now here's the new thing they're doing. They are color tagging the birds, and they're putting little tags on their feet that say where they're from. And they're going to find out if actually it's pollution or if it might be something else. The brown Chinese are, yeah. Can you imagine what the eagles in China look like? Do they have eagles there? I'm not real sure. Hi, Susan. Glad you found us. Um, and so this is really, the eagles population is not as stable as people really think it is right now. It's not looking very good. And they so what did they do? They decided, and this goes a little bit onto the hawks. So then they started testing these hawks. And they now I didn't know this, but they say hawks tend to stick around their states more than fly and further distances. So, well, first of all, they checked with people that had pet hawks, and because a lot of people do. You're not allowed to own an eagle, but you can have a hawk. And the ones that were pets or owned didn't have the concentrations of lead. But when they looked into the ones that are in the wild, they started seeing the same thing as they did in the eagles, except the hawks are fighting it off a little better. They're living longer with it. So there's something in the hawks that's in their bodies that have been able to um, keep the lead from absorbing either by food or by air, what they're finding out. So this is so they're continuing this, and they started testing on the hawks. They said in 2020. So it's very early on, but they're finding out that a lot of the hawks have uh, lower levels. And then again, there are states that they had extremely high levels, like California once again. So they're really starting to think it's pollution and the states not taking care of their wildlife. And so, when I heard that the state's not taking care of their wildlife, I said, okay, so what are they doing? I mean, you can't control a free bird when it goes into the air. It's going to go where it wants. You can't really say, don't go to LA. It's dangerous there. Not only could you be shot, but you can, you don't breathe the air. Because, get this, kids really don't know they can't shoot eagles. In a lot of these inner cities, they're starting to shoot at these eagles and these hawks. And, it's sad. Parents, teach your kids, don't shoot these birds. It's, just not right. Then we need inner city kids to do the zoo more often so they know what's going on and how to respect the animals. I'm a big animal person, so even though I hunt, I'm big on wildlife and protecting some of these species, like the hawks and these eagles. So what they found out with these hawks is it's the same thing. They're running into it's pollution driven. It's causing the lead. And this is just a short study so far. Well, they decided that now they're going to start looking at inner city critters. Well, I call them critters, dogs, cats, the birds in the area. Because they said this could be, that this is, they're just guessing on this. The birds that all of a sudden just, they're flying and then they just all dive and they all die or they all fall out of the sky. We get that a lot here. Over in a little town called Beebe, we have the biggest population of birds that die right there every year. Um, so, they looked at some of these, they went back and they studied these dead birds and they're finding, yeah, they're even seeing traces, not large amounts like they did with the hawks or the eagles, but they're finding traces. So it really doesn't answer their question of why these birds, I mean, by the hundreds fall out of the sky. And it's the oddest thing. They've been showing pictures of these birds for years now, and we never knew why. And I don't think we still know. I didn't talk to them about those. But you can see my little eagle back here. I was like, okay, little eagle, we're not going to let you get no lead poisoning. So all pencils are not allowed in my office anymore. I told the kids that, and it went right over their heads. Yeah. So just a small joke, and I shouldn't joke about the eagles with the lead. But the U.S. Fish and Game and Wildlife, the Raptor coordinator, and he is basically said that for both of these species need to be protected, and it's not as impactful for the eagles as is what they're seeing now with the smaller birds. They said the smaller birds are not the ones falling from the sky. They said there are smaller birds in these inner cities, like I think finches, the little, or what are they, purple martins, I believe, are the little tiny little guys. They're finding it in them. And they're usually like homebodies. They don't usually go too far. So more and more, they're pinpointing the issues. And it seems to be a very populated city issue with gas and exhaust and pollution. But see, we haven't looked into the lead. And so my question was, if it's affecting these birds, what about people that live in these inner cities? Are we going to see lead poisoning in these kids? And there's, they are having so what I did is I called the CDC and I talked to my friend there and I said, hey, by chance, is there an increase of lead poisoning in kids in our state? And she said, yeah, a little bit, not much. And I said, okay, what about SIDS? And she said, oh, yeah, we're seeing a bigger increase in SIDS all over the country, not right now. And I said, could it be due to lead? And she said she didn't know. She didn't know. This is something that we need to look into. So what I did is I called back to the Eagle place here. And yeah, Ellie makes, I call all over the place and call back and forth. And I called California to talk to them. I called, well, let me finish telling you anyway. So what they're seeing is an increase of SIDS. And now they are going to, when I called this guy back at the Eagle place, he sent the study to the CDC here. And the CDC lady says she really thinks this is very questionable, that the Eagles in the inner cities are sick. And she pushed it on and she called me back and she was, hallelujah, hallelujah. They're going to do it. They're going to do a study on kids in inner city to see if there is a lead increase in their little bodies. And, so this is good because it could help if it's happening in SIDS in these babies. There's a good possibility that we are looking at catching it before it gets too far. Because you remember I said there was just traces being found in the kids, and so this is a good thing. Looking into the Eagles and the lead, and this was an article I found, and it just started me right down the road. I want to know why. And it was, if you guys want to read the article, it is at the USGS, and it's a really good article. And it tells about the studies they did, but it doesn't go into what I did, though. So it's not going to tell you everything Ellie did the last day or so. In case you guys want to tell some of your friends about this, friends that kids are having issues with lead. And it could just be, I'm not going to blame it on the cars. Well, it said an error occurred. Okay. I'm having many errors with YouTube and trying to get my shows. So I am, the big thing is I want them to start looking into the small animals in these areas. The animals are pretty smart and they stay away from the cities, but I would like to know if it's affecting deer or what I'm thinking of is the animals that people hunt. Because if we're consuming this, or even cows, what if it affects cows and they're not testing them for lead? I'm not real sure if they test the cows for anything that's in them before they put it to the manufacturing house where they wrap it up and put it in our supermarket. I got to watch what I say. They're not going to let me get too gruesome. YouTube won't. And they don't let the hunters do it. So I know they're not going to let me do it. So that's what I want to know is it in the smaller animals? Is it in the cows? Is it in the pork? They have close to these cities that it might affect us, because we don't need the lead issues either. And so really they're looking into a lot of it. They're looking into the kids now. They're looking into animals. So I got them going. I definitely got them going on this week. And then it was all, like I said, from an article that was at USGS on the eagles. And due to the fact that we have eagles here and a refuge here for the eagles, and they take care of them. And of course, the one on my desk, I got to protect him too. So, but that's it for today. I went a little bit longer than yesterday, but I think the eagle thing needed to be told. And instead of putting it on my news show, it would fit better with Weather Channel. And because it did come from USGS, where I get my volcanoes and earthquakes and hurricane information. And it's going well. I think we're going to have fun doing this. And so this is not my news show. The news show comes on 30 minutes from now. So you guys will have to come on back and I'll get my coffee hot. And I got a big show for you guys today. And with the school shooting, very sad, very sad. But Oh boy. And I think I even got a picture of all the kids. They released all the pictures of the kids that were shot. And, you know, this school shooting's been going on for a very long time, folks, and they've never done anything about it. They meaning the government. They have never done anything to help the schools out. And that I have known working close with the schools. So with that, hit the subscribe for Investigator News Network, and those over in Facebook, hit your follow and share. This is a new show, and I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to help us out, and it'll get to where when the hurricanes start and they start giving really long, in-depth reports, I won't be taking up half my news show with it, and I'm ramping up for it. So last year I did a lot, or the year before, I was doing separate hurricane reports, and sometimes they'd last an hour. And it was back when I was only doing like one show a week, news show, and then I've increased over the years. All right, so with that, you guys have a blessed morning. Go get a refill on the coffee and grab yourself an orange juice and a donut, and we will see you back here in 30 minutes. So have a great morning, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.